November 11th, 1945. Mahavir Prasad, the chief engineer of Uttar Pradesh, who has been staying here for about 20 days, asked Bhagavan, I find it said in the Mahayoga that in the beginning of meditation one may attend to the breath, its inspiration and expiration, and that after a certain amount of stillness of the mind is thereby attained, one can dive into the heart seeking the source of the mind. I have been badly in want of some such practical hint. Can I follow this method? Is it correct? The thing is to kill the mind somehow. Those who have not the strength to follow the inquiry method are advised pranayama as a help to control the mind. And pranayama is of two kinds, one of controlling and regulating the breath, and the other of simply watching the breath. Mr. Prasad said, during meditation, I sometimes attain a state lasting for about 15 minutes, during which I am not aware of anything and am free from all thoughts. Some have told me that such a state is what may be called yoga nidra, and that one should guard against such a state as bad. One should endeavor to get beyond sleep. For some reason, Bhagavan did not answer further. I thereupon advised Prasad to read Crumbs from the Table, where this particular matter is dealt with. Bhagavan also asked us to take a copy of the book and give it to Prasad, and we did so. December 29th, 1945. Mr. P.C. Desai quoted Bhagavan's Upadesa Saram in Sanskrit, and it went like this. When you investigate the nature of mind continuously or without break, you find there is no such thing as the mind. This is the straight path for all. And then Mr. Desai asked, it is said in our scriptures that God it is that creates, sustains, and destroys all, and that He is immanent in all. If so, and if God does everything, and if all that we do is according to God's law, and had already been planned in the cosmic consciousness, is there individual personality and any responsibility for it? Of course there is. The same scriptures have laid down rules as to what men should or should not do. If man is not responsible, then why should those rules have been laid down? You talk of God's play and things happening according to it. If you ask God why this creation and all, He would tell you it is according to your karma again. If you believe in God and His play, working out everything, then completely surrender yourself to Him, and there will be no responsibility for you. Otherwise, find out your real nature through self-inquiry and thus attain freedom. January 2nd, 1946. Mr. Joshi has submitted what Bhagavan calls a question paper, and Bhagavan answers the same. First, about the yanis doing work without the mind. You imagine one cannot do work if the mind is killed. Why do you suppose that it is the mind alone that can make one do work? There may be other causes which can also produce activity. Look at this clock, for instance. It is working without a mind. Again, suppose we say the yoni has a mind. His mind is very different from the ordinary man's mind. He is like the man who is hearing a story told with his mind all on some distant object. The mind rid of vasanas, latent tendencies, though doing work, is not doing work. On the other hand, if the mind is full of vasanas, it is doing work even if the body is not active or moving. Is soham, I am he, the same as who am I? Eham, I am, alone is common to them. One is soham, the other is koham. They are different. Why should we go on saying soham? One must find out the real I. In the question, who am I? By I is meant the ego. Trying to trace it and find its source, we see it has no separate existence, but merges in the real I. I find surrender is easier. I want to adopt that path. By whatever path you go, you will have to lose yourself in the one. Surrender is complete only when you reach the stage where thou art all and thy will be done. The state is not different from jnana. In soham, there is duality. In surrender, there is non-duality. In the reality, there is neither advaita or dvaita, which is duality or non-duality, but that which is, simply is. The surrender appears easy because people imagine that once they say with their lips, I surrender, and put their burdens on the Lord, they can be free and do what they like. But the fact is that you can have no likes or dislikes after your surrender, and that your will should become completely non-existent, and the Lord's will takes its place. Such death of the ego is nothing different from jnana. So, by whatever path you may go, you must come to jnana or oneness. How am I to deal with my passions? Am I to check them or satisfy them? If I follow Bhagavan's method and ask, to whom are these passions? They do not seem to die, but grow stronger. That only shows you are not going about the method properly. The right way is to find out the root of all passions, the source whence they proceed, and get rid of that. If you check the passions, they may get suppressed for the moment, but will appear again. If you satisfy them, they will be satisfied only for the moment and will again crave satisfaction. Satisfying desires and thereby trying to root them out is like trying to quench fire by pouring kerosene oil over it. The only way is to find the root of desire and thus remove it. Another visitor asked Bhagavan, if I try to make the who am I inquiry, I fall into sleep. What should I do? Persist in the inquiry throughout your waking hours. That would be quite enough. If you keep on making the inquiry till you fall asleep, the inquiry will go on during sleep also. Take up the inquiry again as soon as you wake up. Another visitor asked Bhagavan if it was necessary that the so-called differences should go if the nation was to progress. How can one say whether it is necessary or not necessary? I never say anything on such subjects about the world. People often come and ask me for my opinion. If I say anything, they will at once go and publish in the papers and say, so and so also is of such and such an opinion. The same scriptures which have laid down this Dharma for the nation have also proclaimed the oneness of all life as the only reality. Is it possible for anyone to teach a higher truth than the unity or oneness of all life? There is no need for anyone to start reforming the country or the nation before reforming himself. Each man's first duty is to realize his true nature. If after doing it, he feels like reforming the country or nation, by all means let him take up such reform. Remember what Ramtirtha advised. Wanted reformers, but reformers who will reform themselves first. No two persons in the world can be alike or can act alike. External differences are bound to persist, however hard we may try to obliterate them. The attempts of the so-called social reformers to do away with such classes or divisions have not succeeded, but have only created new divisions and added a few more castes or classes to the already existing ones. The only solution is for each man to realize his true nature. Another visitor said, Jnanis generally retire from active life and do not engage in any worldly activity. They may or may not. Some, even after realizing, carry on trade or business or rule over a kingdom. Some retire into forests and abstain from all acts except those absolutely necessary to keep life in the body. So we cannot say all jnanis give up activity and retire from life. I want to know if Bhagavan can give concrete examples, like the butcher mentioned in the books of jnanis now living and doing their ordinary daily work in life. Bhagavan did not answer. Is renunciation necessary for self-realization? Renunciation and realization are the same. They are different aspects of the same state. Giving up the non-self is renunciation. Inhering in the self is jnana, or self-realization. One is the negative, and the other the positive aspect of the same single truth. bhakti, jnana, yoga, are different names for self-realization or mukti, liberation, all of which is a pointer to our real nature. These appear as the means first. They eventually are the goal. So long as there is conscious effort required on our part to keep up bhakti, yoga, meditation, and such things, then these things are the means. When they go on without any effort on our part, we have attained the goal. There is no realization to be achieved, since the real is ever as it is. What we have done is we have realized the unreal, taken for real the unreal. We have to give up that. That is all that is wanted. How has the unreal come? Can the unreal spring from the real? See if it has sprung. There is no such thing as the unreal from another standpoint, since the self alone exists. When you try to trace the ego, based on which alone the world and all exist, you find the ego does not exist at all, and so also all this creation as well.